Hugh Edward Richardson CIEOBEFBA was an Indian civil service officer, British diplomat and Tibetologist. His academic work focused on the history of the Tibetan Empire, and in particular on epigraphy. He was among the last Europeans to have known Tibet and its society before the Chinese invasions which began in 1950. Biography and career. Born in St Andrews, Fife, the son of a British Army medical officer, Richardson studied classics at Keble College, Oxford. He entered the Indian Civil Service on 9 October 1930. Transferring to the Foreign and Political Service of the Government of India, Richardson was posted to Balochistan as an assistant political agent. In July 1936, he was appointed as the British trade agent at Jhansi. He represented Britain in Lhasa, capital of Tibet, from 1936 to 1940 and again from 1946 to 1950, in the final years having become the diplomatic representative of the recently independent India, of the Tibetan government. During his time in Lhasa, Richardson said, "My counterparts were experienced negotiators, and masters of procrastination and evasion, and might assume the cloak of simple people with no experience of the outside world." There could be no doubt I was dealing with ministers of a government that was completely independent in both its internal and external affairs. Like many ICS officers, Richardson was an accomplished linguist who spoke Bengali fluently, a skill he put to use when conversing with Rabindranath Tagore, and his fluent Tibetan was described by the Tibetan politician Sepon W.D. Shakhar as impeccable Lhasa Tibetan with a slight Oxford accent. As Secretary to the Agent General for India at Chungking, he was appointed an Officer of the Order of the British Empire in the 1944 New Year Honours List, and was further appointed a Companion of the Order of the Indian Empire on 14 August 1947 in the last Imperial Honours List. After Indian independence, Richardson remained in the renamed Indian Administrative Service, serving in Lhasa until his retirement in September 1950. After his retirement from public service, he taught in Seattle and Bonn. He subsequently returned to St Andrews and spent the remainder of his life as an independent scholar. He was an advocate of the right of Tibetans to a separate political existence, a case he made in 2 books, Tibetan: Its History and A Cultural History of Tibet, and at the United Nations when the issue of Chinese oppression of Tibet was raised by the Irish Republic, represented by Frank Aiken. During the 1959 UN General Assembly debate on Tibet, in the words of one commentator, he acted valiantly as a man of honor in a cause which has been largely lost because of the notions of political expediency, where sides are taken without regard to principle and in order not to risk aligning oneself with a potential loser, however deserving he may be, a position which reportedly earned him the displeasure of both the British and Indian delegations to the UN Assembly. He remained a close personal friend of the 14th Dalai Lama and of the Tibetan government in exile until his death, with the latter describing Richardson as very precious to us. He later wrote, "The British government, the only government among Western countries to have had treaty relations with Tibet, sold the Tibetans down the river and since then have constantly cold-shouldered the Tibetans so that in 1959 they could not even support a resolution in the UN condemning the violation of human rights in Tibet by the Chinese." Richardson also said that he was profoundly ashamed, not only at the British government's refusal to recognize that Tibet had a right to self-determination, but also at the government's treatment of the 14th Dalai Lama. Personal interests. His hobbies were ornithology, botany and gardening, and he was also an enthusiastic photographer. Another of Richardson's passions was golf, which he introduced to Tibet, although he noted that the ball tended to travel rather too far in the thin air. Works, 1949, 3 Ancient Inscriptions from Tibet. Journal of the Royal Asiatic Society of Bengal, 15, 45–64, 1952. Ancient Historical Edicts at Lhasa and the Musung, Khrig Sung Lde Bratsan Treaty of A.D. 821–822 from the inscription at Lhasa, London. Royal Asiatic Society Prize Publication Fund 1952. 1952–3 Tibetan Inscriptions at Zvahilha Kang, London. Journal of the Royal Asiatic Society, 133–54, 1–12, 1954. A 9th-century inscription from Arkongpo. Journal of the Royal Asiatic Society, London. 157–73. 1957. A Tibetan inscription from Urgul Lha Kang. Journal of the Royal Asiatic Society, London. 57–78. 1964. A new inscription of Khrig Srong Lde Bratans. Journal of the Royal Asiatic Society, London. 1–13. 19658. How old was Srong Bratsan Sgampo? Bulletin of Tibetology, Volume 2, No. 1, 6–8. REPR in Richardson 1998–3–6, 1965b. A fragment from Tun Huang, Bulletin of Tibetology, Volume 2, No. 3, 33–38. REPR in Richardson 1998–7–11, 1968 with David Snellgrove, A Cultural History of Tibet, 1995 2nd edition with changes, Shambhala, Boston and Amp, London. ISBN 1-57062-1020. 1969. The inscription at the tomb of Khrig Srong Btsan, Journal of the Royal Asiatic Society, 29–38. 1969b. Tibetan Kaizen Cheese. Quote, Asia Major 14, 154–6. 1972. The Arkongpo inscription. Journal of the Royal Asiatic Society, London. 30–39. 1973. The Skarkung inscription. Quote, Journal of the Royal Asiatic Society. 12–20. 1974. Qing Dynasty inscriptions at Lhasa, Rome. Istituto Italiano per l'Africa e l'Oriente. 1974. 1978. The Sino-Tibetan Treaty inscription of A.D. 821–823 at Lhasa. Journal of the Royal Asiatic Society, 137–62. 1982. Memories of Shifu, Bulletin of Tibetology, Volume 18, No. 1, 1982. Karmapa Commemoration Volume REPR in Richardson 1998, pp. 730–733. 1983. Valpo and Lho Bal, Bulletin of the School of Oriental and African Studies 46, 136–8. 1985. A corpus of early Tibetan inscriptions. Hartford, Royal Asiatic Society, 1985. ISBN 0-947593-004, 1987. Early Tibetan inscriptions. Some recent discoveries. The Tibet Journal 12.2.DHARAMSALA, Library of Tibetan Works and Archives, 3–15. Bulletin of Tibetology N. S. 3. Gangtok, Sikkim Research Institute of Tibetology, 5–18. High Peaks, Pure Earth, London, Sir India, 1998–261–275. 1988. More early inscriptions from Tibet. Bulletin of Tibetology. New Series 2. Gangtok, Sikkim Research Institute of Tibetology. 5–8. High Peaks, Pure Earth, London, Sir India, 1998–276–278. 1989. Early Tibetan law concerning dog bite. Bulletin of Tibetology. News 3, 5–10. REPR. In Richardson 1998–135–139. 1990. Hunting accidents in early Tibet. Tibet Journal. 15–4, 5–27. REPR. In Richardson 1998–149–166. 1995a. The Tibetan inscription attributed to His Ode. Journal of the Royal Asiatic Society. 3rd Series 5.3, 403–404. 1995b. The inscription at Rati Shag Dgon Pa. Bulletin of the School of Oriental and African Studies. 58, 534–9. High Peaks, Pure Earth, London, Sir India, 1998–286–291. 1997. Adventures of Tibetan Fighting Monk with Kudrup Tashi. White Orchid Books. ISBN 974873687-3. Orchid Press. 2006. ISBN 9748299-171. 1998. High Peaks, Pure Earth. Collected Writings on Tibetan History and Culture. Sir India Publications, London.